Leamons, welcome back to another video of mine. So recently, I looked through my iPad at all the art throughout the years of me drawing, and well, there's some truly horrendous works of art on there, and it was really fun to take a look at the art and my progress I've made over the years, in a silly, cringy kind of way. So in this video, I'll be looking back at old digital art of mine and laughing and critiquing my old drawing skills. Not that I'm a fully confident artist even now, but I like to think I've definitely improved over the years. In this video, I'll be going through 15 different drawings I've made. These are all from 2018 to 2019. So, with that, let's get right into the video. Drawing 1. So, this is the first drawing I've made on my iPad. I used to draw on my phone before starting to draw on my iPad, although I didn't get any of my phone drawings for this video, because I wanted to keep it all from the same device, to show my skill back then moving forward to now. As I still draw on my iPad to this day, I think I might have looked at a furry artist when I made this, because it looks fine considering it's my first digital art piece on my iPad, but the color, shading, and line art looks terrible. You can tell I didn't know what I was doing, even if I referenced off another artist. Again, it was so long ago, I can't even remember if it was referenced off someone, or who that would even be. I know for a fact, though, that this was not traced. I never drew this character ever again after this. Drawing 2. This was my first character I made called Emmy. She was drawn initially on my phone, but I drew this drawing on my iPad. She looks interesting. Like, honestly, sort of creepy. Like, why does her face look like that? I always made them too expressive to the point it was sometimes scary. And the body is crooked. Her head is straight and the body goes down towards the right. How did I not notice that? Not to mention, even the shading and lighting is all over the place. Also, Emmy is a dog and she doesn't look like a dog. Drawing 3. For this drawing, I drew an old bunny character of mine. It just looks bad. Her floppy bunny ears weirdly stick out to the side and come down. Her tail is massive for a bunny. And why did she have spots all over her? Because that wasn't a part of her color scheme. I just added gray shadow dots everywhere for some reason. And if you couldn't tell, I still couldn't shade properly. There's just random shading everywhere on her. This just looks like the typical beginner furry artist drawing, and that's sad for me to admit. In this drawing, I drew some cat character. I think it might have been fan art for somebody, but I can't remember. The real question is, why does her hips have that much fur? Like, it genuinely just looks weird, and her waist is so thin compared to all that hip fur, or whatever that fur substance should be called. Plus, she has all these weird fur line arts all over her body. It just looks weird and bad. Then her feet are literally just rectangles. Like, they should have claws at least. Why are they built like a Minecraft character? Drawing 5. This was a reference sheet for my character Emmy. She looks slightly less creepy here, but why does her body look that way? Her torso is much longer than her legs. Her head is again straight, and then her body is going crooked. It's going to the right as it goes down. How did I manage to do this twice? Also, you'll notice I always gave the most unnecessary face expressions for my characters, when it wasn't really needed for the drawing. Like, this is just a ref sheet. I didn't need to give her the DreamWorks face expression. Like, it makes her look so goofy. Drawing 6. I drew that bunny character again, and at least she doesn't have those shade spots all over her body. The background looks very bad and airbrushy, if you know what I mean, but I was very new to drawing backgrounds at the time, so it makes sense. Her face looks terrifying to me, and her floppy ears are just straight down. They look sharp, like they'd hurt you if they hit you. Her hand is the wrong way, or it just looks bad, I can't tell. It looks as if it physically can't be held that way, and that isn't a good sign. At least her legs look sorta nice, but that is about the only compliment I can give on this drawing. And the shading on her is still bad. I just used the airbrush shading instead this time, which, something interesting about me, is that I hate the airbrush shading. I like the look of a clean, crisp line shading, even if it ends up being more simple. I don't like the look of airbrush shading. I don't know why. Because some artists can really perfect it, but whenever I've used it in the past, I usually just dislike how my drawing turns out. so this is a rare instance when I actually used airbrush shading. Drawing 7. This is an old character of mine called Moon. He was the love interest or friend of Emmy. I never really had them officially together, but had the idea that they both had crushes on one another. Emmy was outgoing and wacky, whereas Moon was calm, quiet, and smart, so pretty much opposite character dynamics. Anyway, this drawing of him just looks bad. I don't know. I don't even know what to criticize. It just looks bad to me. I guess I don't like how I drew his eyes, which is a pretty important part to a drawing, so maybe that's why I dislike this. I also don't like that I made his tail poofy, because believe it or not, he's a cat. But he looks more like a dog or a wolf in this drawing. Drawing 8. Another drawing of Emmy. Her ears just sort of flop down now. Beforehand, they used to stick up in the air, but now it's full floppy ears. I guess I decided to make this change because she is a dog, and I thought it would make sense to have her have ears that go downwards instead of upwards. Which, I guess so. I mean, I don't have any issues with the fact that I made this change. The problem was, I didn't know how to draw floppy ears. That was something I always struggled with early on. I could never do floppy ears. And of course I gave my main character, the one I drew all the time, an element that was difficult for me to draw. So her ears look awful in this drawing. Her head is facing frontwards, whereas her ears and body look like they're facing to the side. In this situation, I think I needed to move her face more 3/4, or sideways, because it just looks bad how it is. And there's also a bird there, for whatever random reason that was. Drawing 9. This was a drawing of my seal on Animal Jam, an older version of my seal, as it definitely isn't the one that's my mascot now. I had the items cone collar and a double head bow. I always loved bows on my Animal Jam animals. They were so cutesy to me. I feel bad criticizing this drawing because it's supposed to be a simple style. I don't think I was trying to make it look like my art style at the time, but instead a more simple version of it. But also, the head is literally just a circle. Like, I didn't even add an ounce of fur anywhere. But maybe back then, I didn't think seals could have fur, but she is a white seal, so she could have been a harp seal like the one I have now. Either way, even if I didn't add fur, I could have made her face have a bit more structure. It just looks so silly to me, but honestly, not in a terrible way. Drawing 10. This was a drawing of Emmy and Moon together looking up at the stars. The gross, really quickly made looking stars that are just sitting on a basic purple background with an airbrush over top them. Oh, good God, that looks bad. And it isn't even the worst of it. Look at Emmy and Moon from the behind perspective. Emmy's ears should be in the front from this perspective because this is the back of her head. Instead, they aren't. Like, can't you imagine how they'd be looking from the front side? It would be blocking her face out. And Moon's ears don't look great either. They look better because he doesn't have big floppy ears, but they are also put in the wrong perspective. I'm worried that what I'm saying isn't making sense, so I'm gonna do a quick mock-up to show my point. See? That looks so much better. I mean, I couldn't make it perfect because I was going off of my old drawing, but you see what I mean. Technically, their arms in this drawing also should be not resting behind their bodies, but somehow that's less noticeable than the ears. The only thing I got right was Moon's tail. Like, it doesn't look good, but it actually looks proper. It's funny because when I first drew this years ago, I loved how it turned out. But after knowing how arms, tails, ears, and legs should look on all body perspectives, I cannot look at this the same. Drawing 11. This was a drawing of Emmy with clothing on. Yeah, I finally started drawing clothing on my characters. And it's how you'd expect someone to draw clothing that had no experience of it. It sort of just fits around her body as if it's an afterthought. Like, it literally just curves around like an object at the bottom of the shirt, and her fluffs on her hips just come out. Plus, why does she have fur on her shirt? Like, I know it was my style to always draw fur on the chest and beside the neck, but this doesn't look good. You can't just draw the fur that's on the body on the shirt as well. At least I didn't draw any fur on her socks, though. This drawing, other than how I drew the clothing, isn't inherently terrible. I actually kind of like how I drew her face. I like how I drew the eyes in particular. You could tell I was improving a bit, but the clothing just ruins this one for me. Drawing 12. This is a drawing of Moon, and I don't like the pen pressure for the line art. For some clarification, up until this, all my drawings were made with my finger. I did not use a drawing pen, because quite honestly, I didn't know how to control the pen pressure. And in a weird, strange, crazy way, I preferred using my finger to draw instead of a drawing pen. But I also knew, if I wanted to learn and get better at drawing, take it more seriously, I had to try getting used to a drawing pen. And it wasn't easy at first, and you can tell in this drawing that I struggled with controlling the pen pressure. For as long as I can remember, I've always pushed way too hard on my pencils, pens, charcoal, any sort of drawing or writing tool. I still do, but I can control it better now. Or rather, I know the way I draw, how hard I press down on my pen, and I can choose the drawing size that best fits that. Here's an example of how I draw my pen compared to a more lighter pressure approach. Maybe I'm unaware, but for all I know on Procreate, there's no setting for having no pen pressure. But anyway, I didn't like how my drawings looked initially, and it took some time to actually figure out how to use my pen. Also, I used the DreamWorks face on Moon again. Drawing 13. Here's another drawing of Emmy. First of all, her clothing still don't look great, but I didn't add fur in her clothing, so good on me. And you can tell I was still getting used to the pen pressure thing on this drawing. I sort of decided because I pressed so hard that I would just make my line art thicker to get around that, which is weird because before this my line art was always super thin. So I went from 0 to 100 on my line art. This isn't the worst drawing, I just don't like how thick the line art is. Drawing 14. Oh geez. Oh my god. This is terrible. There's way too much to unpack here. Some context before I do. This was a drawing for somebody I knew at school. They were hosting a draw in your own style and I joined. I wasn't even close friends with this person. I just talked to them the odd time. So the fact I decided to go out of my way and make this is wild. First, I didn't know how to draw humans. So it doesn't look great because of that. I literally just didn't add hands and just left it as nubs, thinking I could get away with that. Second, the ribcage skeleton doesn't even match up with her body. Like, her torso is smaller, hits the X-ray glass, and her hips just expand out of nowhere. I mean, that's physically impossible. Lastly, the liner is way too thick. You can't see fine details because of it, and even some areas, it's way too squished and crowded. For example, her face has no room because her eyes are all cramped together against her hair, and I feel like it was meant to be a more detailed drawing, but because of how thick I was drawing the line art, it couldn't be that, and it just looks bad for that reason. Drawing 15. Next drawing is my seal character on Animal Gem. This one is also not my mascot that I have now. I had a lot of animal changes before my channel got as many subs as it did. I mean, at a certain point, I just felt like I had to stick with one outfit and an animal, so I chose to use items that I knew I'd never trade away, and go with an animal that I liked a lot, which was the seal. Anyway, this drawing is so weird, like, it feels random. It's just my seal on a couch in what I think is the Princess Castle Den in Animal Jam. She's also angry in the drawing. I don't know why she's mad, but because I'm pretty sure I drew this as a subscriber number special. Like, this was probably around when I hit 1,000 subscribers. Anyway, the drawing isn't the worst thing I've seen. Definitely not as bad as some of the other drawings I've shown. I actually think she looks sorta cute despite her being angry. Like, sorta stubborn, cute, angry type look. And her seal body doesn't look wrong from what I can see. Actually, the background is what looks bad. The couch doesn't fit this perspective, and the stairs, yes, those are stairs if you couldn't tell. They look bad. They don't look like stairs, but honestly, this drawing isn't that bad. And actually, I don't mind this one. It's kinda cute. That is it for this video. I only wanted to look back at some of my digital art, although if this video does well, I might consider looking back at more in another video. Because the Animal Jam drawing at the very end is from 2019, and I drew throughout 2019 to now, so let's just say I have more art. But I didn't want this video to be too long or drawn out. I just thought it would be funny to look back and cringe review at my old art. So basically, yes, I have drawn a lot over the years, and I didn't even cover quarter of it here. Especially since I picked over my drawings. I went into this with the idea that I'd choose 15 drawings, and I skipped over a bunch just to make it to 2019. It's actually insane how much I drew back then, like way more than I do now. And it's so funny looking back at my old drawings and all their mistakes and weird elements, and seeing how far I've come. Again, I'm not a pro at drawing, but I like to think I've improved to some degree. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, as it was very fun and very refreshing for me to make. I love Animal Jam, don't get me wrong, but sometimes it can be hard to make only Animal Jam videos, back to back to back. Like, I sometimes need to cover other stuff, just for my own sake. Anyway, it's been Leamon Puppy, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys all next time.